preparer error. That's tax return preparer error can serve as a reason for the removal of IRS penalties. Now, I'm talking to you now about preparer error for a reason, which is not just to talk about reasonable cause, but it's also to talk about what's happening in the world today. And that's what's happening in the world today is that the IRS is more aggressively looking at tax return preparers than ever before. And it's looking at individual tax returns prepared by a preparer, as well as their entire book of business. More than ever, the IRS is trying to make a determination whether your tax return preparer actually follows the rules. In other words, you're not the only one wondering whether that tax return was prepared in the right way. And what happens in the long run is, and you have to be aware of this, folks, and this is not in the written factual sample that I provided to you, but you have to be aware that when a return preparer makes a mistake on a tax return, there's a high motivation to try to immediately blame the taxpayer. So when there's questions asked about how that error came to be, there's going to be responses that seem to put the burden on the taxpayer. But that's not what happened here with Jane. And it may not have happened with you. You may have provided all the information that is necessary in order to have properly completed the line item and the return on the whole. And you may be in a situation where the error is truly the tax return preparer's error. You don't want to have to pay penalties and the related interest in the event that error is something that is not your responsibility. So in the long run, recognize that yes, return preparer error can support the removal of those penalties that have been assessed against you. But that in order to enjoy that result, you're probably going to have to stand up for yourself. Now, we've seen preparers openly admit that they've made a mistake, that the error was theirs. But we've also seen preparers over the course of these decades very aggressively attempt to put the burden of the error onto the taxpayer when nothing of the kind actually occurred. And so, if you're going to permit your tax return preparer to speak directly to the IRS about your tax return when you're not participating in the telephone conversation, you have to have a personal, very high level of confidence that the things that are going to be said are truthful and are not necessarily going to, by inference or innuendo, blame you. And that's the key. Now, you're always responsible to have to pay the tax that's really due from you. But as far as these penalties are concerned, you should not have to pay them. And you don't want to pay whatever it is that is not your legal responsibility to pay. And in all of our situations, we're talking about situations where a $1,500 penalty or whatever amount that you're talking about, it may be less than $15,000. It may be dismissed by the industry as not being enough. But for you, it's cash flow. And for you, that money is important. And it's important to meet your regular needs and responsibilities. And if it isn't, and you actually are fortunate enough to have a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket, it's even more important because it gives you a sense and peace of mind. So that's what Digital Tax Attorney is all about, and that's what our consultations are all about. If you have a situation where you believe your return preparer was in error and where you need help in making the presentation, use your outline, use your summary, put it together and talk to us, and we'll help you put a compelling presentation together. will help you with that. Will help you with the documents too. Thank you.